Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank community, a place for all passionate parents, players, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on PJ Atherton, the founder of Atherton Hockey. PJ grew up in Edina, Minnesota, lived the dream playing for the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, won a national championship there with them before embarking on a pro career that lasted in and out of about 6 seasons. Now he's working with players from the youth levels all the way up to NHL superstars, doing some player development and some video. Before we get over to PJ, though, a couple quick announcements. First, number one, if you're not in the Hockey Think Tank community yet, you got to get in touch. You got to get involved with this community. It is incredible. We have guest speaker Barry Smith, who's going to come on and talk some hockey with our community members. And that's going to be in a couple Sundays from now. That I believe is January 26th. That is a Sunday. And I'm just checking my calendar right now. That is correct. It is the 26th of January. So 7-time Stanley Cup winner as a coach, Barry Smith. Just an unbelievably smart hockey guy, and you got access to guys like Barry. We had Brandon Naurato on. We've had just some great guests. So get involved with the Hockey Think Tank community.thehockeythinktank.com today. Now to the talent of the podcast, the one that makes the drink stirred, Jeffrey Jehu Lavecchio. Vex, what's up today, brother?
As you were introing me there in my head, I was very quickly doing the Bulls theme song, you know. But then I was also doing Will Ferrell's intros from Semi-Pro in my head as well, making fun of myself.
Oh, my God. Amazing.
So good. His brother.
That is an undercover, unbelievable movie.
There's like guys in the gym that I'm working with. Obviously, they're younger kids because that's who I work with at TPH who haven't seen that. And I'm like, you're not a real athlete. You need to see Semi-Pro. Like, you must see Semi-Pro. It is unbelievable. But yeah, man, having a great week, dude. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm flying high. A lot of stuff going on. Busy stuff. Like, guys, we have some pretty cool announcements we're going to be making with the Hockey Think Tank here in the next couple weeks or so. Be on the lookout. We got some new stuff coming, and it's going to be hopefully game-changing type stuff. So keep that underneath the hat for now. But, yeah, man, I mean, you know it, as an entrepreneur, like, it's a grind, man. Like, it's a grind. Like, and especially when you're doing some new stuff and you got some new things to come out, like, oh boy, that takes a lot of work from so many different standpoints. And luckily I have an awesome team with Steph and Maddie and Laura and yourself, Jeffrey. But yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff going on, man.
So cool, man. Very, very cool. Really,
how's daddy
really
life?
Excited for it all.
I saw the little one just turned 4 months old.
4 months yesterday, man. And it's like, you know, you guys listening, driving with your kids or listening on your own, you know, she's born 4 months ago. And yeah, man, you know, like I'm with her every single day, and I didn't realize like how much she's changed in 4 months alone. And then I see the pictures that my wife took from month 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'm like, oh my God, you are a completely different human. Like, her features look different. She's obviously, you know, way, way bigger. It's just parenting is literally the coolest thing ever. Every single day, something new. And
every day is an adventure, right?
Dude, I can't even imagine what it's like for all you parents listening that like get to watch your little son or daughter, you know, out there skating and playing hockey in their little equipment. Like, I'm going nuts when she spreads her fingers, or she grabs my finger, or she grabs the bottle for 1 second. You know, she turned her head left, and I'm like, she turned left. Oh my God, she's not Zoolander.
She's an ambi-turner.
She is an ambi-turner, and yeah, man, the parenting thing. Coolest thing ever.
It's so funny. Like, there's so many ups and downs in parenting from birth all the way. I mean, Pagey's going to be turning 8 here in April. Wow. And I was telling Steph and Maddie the other day, like, we had like an episode, like one of the, like a meltdown the other day. Like, And it was, it was really funny. I was thinking, I mean, it happens. Like I've seen
Yeah.
so many kids that age melting down. And then like my thought at some point in the meltdown was kind of like, but she could play AAA hockey if she wanted to.
That's
just
amazing.
like where my head went to. I'm like, how ridiculous that is.
Yep.
So,
I'm going to pay $20,000 for this to play AAA hockey. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
For sure. And actually, it's a good segue into this conversation with PJ, man. So PJ's a Minnesota guy through and through. Played at Edina, one of the top programs in Minnesota, and played at the University of Minnesota. Like, just talking about Minnesota hockey puts a smile on my face. It really does. It puts a smile on my face. And it's funny because I should like prerequisite to say that like I don't not like tier 1 hockey. Like
Right.
I know we kind of rail against it at times for the cost and for the craziness and things like that, but we wouldn't have gotten to where we gotten to without tier 1 hockey. And Minnesota is a different kind of environment than everywhere else. So I don't want to like throw too many stones, but the community model works, guys. Like the community model works, and you see it from numbers, and we talk about some of those numbers on the podcast. Like the quicker you go away from the community model, the worse the model is. You know what I mean? Like keep it fun, keep it sane, keep it community, like as long as you can before taking that step to make it, a little bit different. And like Minnesota, like I think like there's also like they also have an elite league, right? So like they have split season where they have a Minnesota elite league before the season, and then they have their high school season in the middle, and so the players in Minnesota are getting a little bit of that tier 1 kind of feel, getting the best players from around on the same teams and playing against each other and stuff. I think there's value, in kind of both, but I do feel like, like the professionalization is not doing the younger it gets. And if you listen to our podcast long enough, you understand where we're coming from. Like the younger that stuff gets, the worse it is for the players that are coming up and the families that are coming up too. And so this is just a great episode with PJ on why that is, man. Honestly, at the end of the day, and hear him talking about his experience. Here's another guy that played pro hockey, was one of the top defensemen at University of Minnesota who got cut as a Bantam. Like, man, just a great episode, guys. You guys are gonna love this one.
Well, what I love about Minnesota too, quickly, that's different from St. Louis, that before and after is massive. We got kids here that are losing out on kids that want, or at least say that they want to play juniors. They want to get a scholarship. They want to play pro hockey. And so if somebody tells me that that's what they want, then I think about, okay, what's the best way to help you get there? And obviously no two paths are the same. However, here in St. Louis, all these AAA kids that also play high school hockey, some of them are skating like 20 times a week almost, because they'll have 3 AAA practices. They'll have 2 to 3 high school practices. If it's a home weekend, they'll have 3, 4, AAA games. They'll have 2 high school games. It's literally insane. Like it is wild. And then they're not able to work out. They're not able to get their homework. They're staying up till 1 a.m. to get both their practices in and their homework and their schooling. And it's literally insane. And it is hurting their development. Like it's absolutely hurting their development. So like at least with the high school aspect and the AAA tier 1 aspect, like they're getting the best of both worlds. And so, for me and what I see in St. Louis and all these players who really could be a lot further in their developmental process and are losing out because they skate so much and get injured and aren't able to lift in season. They can't eat enough to keep weight on or gain any weight. It's hurting them in St. Louis, and it frickin' kills me. So I love that about Minnesota.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's so funny when you talk about development. It's tough because like you said, not every path is equal. Right. Not every kid is the same. Not every area that you live in the country or in Canada or in the world is the same. Not everybody's background socioeconomically is the same. And there's so many different factors that go into a kid's development. And that's what we try to speak truth to. And that's what we try to educate people on, just from the seats that we've sat in and the people that we get to talk to and the numbers that we get to see from a data standpoint. And And I think the biggest thing is like keep a community for as long as possible, And then is there an avenue to kind of separate it a little bit, right? Like, do kids get better by playing with better players and against better players? Yeah, absolutely there is, and everywhere is different, but Minnesota continues to show time and time and time again that the community model works, and everywhere else has gone completely away from it for the most part. Maybe not everywhere, but for the most part everywhere. And I understand why. There's a business aspect to it, and that's an unfortunate byproduct of tier one is the cost and the money that is involved. And so it's a little bit harder to affect some change and from that standpoint, but like, keep it for community as long as you can. Keep it community as long as you can, and then find a way as the kids get a little bit older to put the kids first, right? Like what you just talked about in St. Louis is not like, that's not good for the kids. Like it's not, they're going to get burnt out and they're going to get injured. Find a way in other places like Chicago and Detroit and Boston, some of these bigger cities to continue to preach community, rather than it's got to be Mite AAA, from the youngest of ages. And you see that in so many different places. And like, our job's to educate and provide perspective that can help you to think and make some decisions for yourself or make some decisions for your kids or your organizations. And I think a big thing, and you'll get this from PJ on this podcast, like community is a good thing. We need to create community. There's got to be community. And Minnesota Hockey just put out a post literally just today talking about there were 4 or 5 candidates for Mr. Hockey in Minnesota, which is kind of like the Hobie Baker for Minnesota high school hockey, for those that don't know. And they were all seniors that probably could have left to go play juniors, but they decided to stay home because they wanted to win a championship for their team. How good for development is that? Like, to be the guy on a team that has a potential to win a championship. Nothing better for your development, man. Nothing better. The stakes are on you. The pressure's on you. You got to learn to deal with adversity. Like, I don't know, man. Like, Minnesota continues to outshine everybody, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, and this is a great episode. PJ is an awesome guy. He's obviously doing a ton of great work with a lot of quality hockey players. And it's really cool to get on these calls a lot of times, especially this one at the end. We're like, wow, we could have went a couple more hours there. Like, we just could have kept rapping here, boys. And you guys are going to love this one. PJ's awesome.
Yeah, this is a great episode. So before we do go before we do get over to PJ, we have some people to thank. First, want to thank icehockeysystems.com, our title sponsor. Go to icehockeysystems.com, and what do you get? You get thousands of drills at your disposal to use in your practices. You get whiteboard explanations from some really, really high-level hockey people. You get the ability to go in there and draw up your drills, send them to your team before practice, build a drill library for yourself, or you can get this for your entire association, because we have partnered with icehockeysystems.com on an association platform. You can get this for every single coach in your organization. You can store practice plans, drill libraries. You can build up an entire library that all of your coaches can just go to. Hey, I need a good Monday practice that's going to be fun. Boom. Here's a guy or a girl that did that the week before. Awesome. So just such a value add for any youth organization that we know that have used it. Go to icehockeysystems.com today and look up that association's platform. Jeffrey, go ahead.
I want to say thank you to Train Heroic. Train Heroic is the amazing app that allows me to train all of my guys across the world. Over 30,000 people have 33 actually have trained with me. Some form of my online training, teams, organizations, college teams, junior teams, USHL, NAL, NA3, USPHL, young teams. I've got U15 team in Canada. I've got high school team, Colin Smith, absolute beauty, out of Michigan. So many different teams that I am working with, and I can help your team for a hilariously low price. Get quality training videos of me coaching and demonstrating everything for safety and efficiency and effectiveness. Train Heroic allows all that to happen. So massive thank you to Train Heroic. Also want to say thank you to Cure Nutrition. You guys know, you hear it every time. I use Rise and Zen every single day with Cure Nutrition. CBD products have helped me immensely. I've been taking them since the 17-18 season, my last year pro, and taking them all the way through daily up until today. So if you have any questions about CBD, please reach out to me and ask. I'm always a proponent for plants over pills, or you can go to curednutrition.com and use my discount code GMBM.
Also, we want to thank HeliosHockey.com. This is a sensor that you put in your shoulder pad. Unbelievable product that gives you real-time feedback, real-time data on everything from your stride length and mechanics to your what they call hustle score. Whenever you go in a practice or in a game, that little sensor lights up and it gives you a lot of great information that can help you with your development. So it also, game changer, links up with whatever video you're using. And so whether it's Live Barn, whether that's an iPad, whether that's a camera, whatever, it links up. And whenever you go, that thing, boom. So every rep you get in practice or every shift that you get in games, boom, already cut up for you after your practice or after your game. Absolute game changer. So go to HeliosHockey.com. And if you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, you will get 20% off a pro annual or pro 24-month subscription, or you can go to HeliosHockey.com/teams and get this for your entire team. And lastly, we want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is an incredible product that so many youth hockey organizations are using now. If you are in a leadership position of a youth hockey program, you need to look into Crossbar. And so if you haven't yet, what is it? Crossbar is just an end-to-end software solution that can help you to manage your operation for your clubs. It streamlines everything all into one place. The hockey directors and presidents that I know that we work with that have Crossbar are so incredibly happy that they made the change over. They got a sleek website design, really, really easy to look at and use. You can have registration for everything from your seasons to drop-ins and clinics and lessons. That is also extremely easy. There's a club scheduler, 5-star communication app. There's things that you can use for financial tools and reporting, volunteer management, facility management. Again, everything under one roof, make your life so much easier as an admin with a youth organization. So go to crossbar.org today to check it out. And also want to thank you all, the listeners. We love you guys. Absolutely love you guys. If you can do us a solid, the only thing we ask for in return is that if you can interact with our podcast or our social media posts in any way to help to elevate and amplify the message, that would be huge. So anytime you can like our stuff on social media, you can download or follow our show on your podcast apps, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, we're everywhere. Shoot us comments and ratings if you can. It's just huge. It's huge for us in that algorithm to get us into some more ears. If you think we're doing a solid service to the hockey world by spreading the positivity and the education and the inspiration, it will go a long way for us if you can do that. So thank you for continuing to support us in what we do. And this is a phenomenal episode. So without further ado, here we go with PJ Atherton. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast from one of my favorite states, Minnesota. We got PJ Atherton. PJ, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, guys. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, we are pumped to have you. Should we play like the Star Spangled Banner right now for World Junior win first? Something like that.
Better believe I'd love that. I play that in the gym as much as I can, bro.
I like it. Well, PJ, pumped to have you on, man. Go through your journey, talk a little bit of hockey, and you've had quite the journey, but grew up in Edina, Minnesota, huge hockey hotbed up there. If you can, tell us a little bit how you fell in love with the game.
Yeah, man, to be honest with you. So I grew up in Edina, and to be honest with you, I wasn't a very good hockey player for most of my life. From youth all the way through Bantams. Like I played Bantam B2 hockey here in Edina. Wasn't highly touted, highly regarded, but I loved hockey. And to be honest with you, I'm sure that we'll get into this. The way that I fell in love with hockey is playing hockey outside. Like I spent my entire childhood playing on park rinks, public rinks outside. That's all I did all day long. And I really credit that to any reason that I got any good at hockey at all. In Edina, there are, this is a small community that's, maybe 4 miles by 4 miles. There's a hockey rink in every single neighborhood. So it's, what rink do you play at? What rink do you play at? It's going to play with your buddies at a different rink, and there's different people there going to play at the rink that I normally play at. And there's a bunch of, I used to play a men's league game at 7 a.m. when I was like 13. So like, all these different avenues and all these different people, age levels, all this stuff is really how I fell in love with hockey, because it wasn't from, being highly touted or having a ton of success. It was certainly not that. It was just loving to do what we were doing out there.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And like growing up in Minnesota, I feel like one of the coolest things about the Minnesota model is the rivalries. And when you do like the club model, you kind of have that. Not really, like there's no real rivalries. And when you talk about development, like one of the best ways to develop is to be able to play in like meaningful games. And so I actually do a little bit of work with the Eden Prairie, which is an Edina rival. So don't try to do too much, Edina talk on here.
Cake eaters.
But talk a little bit about just like, and it's really cool working with them because like you got guys on their team that have played together since they were like 6 years old. And so when you play together for 12 years for your town against another town, like, and you've been playing against the same kids and with the same kids for that many years, like first of all, it's fun. Like those games are just unbelievably fun. If anybody's ever been to the state tournament, or been to a rivalry game, not even in the state tournament, like the stands are packed and everybody's going nuts and it's so much fun. But like, talk about just like the rivalries that you had and like growing up in Minnesota and how it helped you to develop that love for the game too.
It's really special. I mean, it's really unique that you're playing for the same place. You're playing for your town. You're playing for where you're from for your entire life, right? And you play against the same kids most of your life. So you get to know them, number one. You get to hate some of them. You get to be buddies with other ones of them from summer hockey. Like we did have like summer hockey stuff where you'd play like Team Minnesota and get to play with kids from other parts and get to know everybody, which was awesome and super fun. But when it came to the winter, like those are real, you don't change teams here, right? So you're not playing for the Mission one year, but then you're on TI the next year. It's like, how do you develop a rivalry when like you don't have a place that you care about? You have no pride in the team. Like, and that's what we had. And, in Edina, it was fun to be hated. Like no one liked us. No one still likes us. You go to the state tournament, Edina's getting booed constantly. Like it's a really, really fun atmosphere. And I think it does contribute to meaningful games and pressure, and those things feeling like big moments, sharpens you into learning how to deal with that kind of stuff.
Totally, man. Totally. It's unreal. It's unreal. Honestly, like for people that don't live in Minnesota, if you get the chance to go watch a state tournament, you got to go at the Excel Center with the Wild play. There's no other experience like it.
Or you could go to the rink in Edina and watch Edina play Eden Prairie, and you're going to see 2,000 people in there in an old barn that it's awesome. It's unbelievable. Or you go watch Grand Rapids, play, and their rink's super cool and old, and you have the whole thing filled and people are yelling at each other, and it's awesome. It's just a really, really fun time.
Sweet.
Electric. Before we get too deep in the Minnesota thing, I got to ask, because I have wondered this my entire life. When did Mighty Ducks come out? Original, like not early 90s?
That's got to be early 90s because I was like a kid. That was like right in my wheelhouse, right? So like Adam Banks is like
from Edina, Banksy, right? Like, skilled from Edina.
92, October 2nd, 1992. Okay.
92. So I was 7. Since I was 7, I've wanted to know what this means. What is the definition of a cake eater?
So Cake eater comes from like the old, like I think it was like Marie Antoinette in the French Revolution. There were there was a huge famine in France, right? And Marie Antoinette was so out of touch with people. She was so rich that she was like, well, just let them eat cake. Because she had no concept for like people wouldn't have food. She's like, give them the cake. We don't need the cake. So it became kind of this symbol of the aristocracy being, eating cake.
Holy definition. Well done. Aristocracy.
I bet you were not expecting that.
It's not.
That was a real answer. That was an actual answer.
Wow. Okay. So like, I thought like when I was 7, I'm thinking that's like a cuss word or something, I'm like, oh, what is, and ever since then I've used it to anybody who's from Minnesota. They tell me from the Minnesota. I'm like, oh, cake eater, but I have no idea what it means. So
it's not Minnesota. It's Edina.
Yeah,
it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Proceed with the Borophyll. Sorry. Thanks for clearing that up.
Oh, that's so fun. What? That was legit, man. And Jeff, there is this thing called Google too. If you really wanted to know, you can figure things out.
Lugal.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Lugal.
Great white buffalo.
All right. Transition a little bit. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot more about Minnesota hockey, but like, you've had quite the journey, man. You've had quite the journey. And I wanted to read this. So if you go to PJ's website, it's athertonhockey.com. And if you've been listening to our podcast at all ever, you know how big we are on what's your why. Like what's your why and how important your why is to what you do. And so PJ actually on his website has a why. And so I wanted to read this because I think it's really relevant to the conversation that we're probably going to have here. And it's really relevant to a lot of what we believe in here with the Hockey Think Tank, especially getting the opportunity to talk to guys like you. And so I want to read this quick, and it's PJ's why. Having experienced both highs and lows throughout my playing career, I have seen and felt the entire spectrum of emotion. Being cut from teams as a youth player to becoming a USHL All-Star and eventually achieving a lifelong dream of becoming a Golden Gopher at the University of Minnesota has put me in a position to understand the struggles and triumphs of most players. After college, I was lucky enough to pursue a professional career, and there's nothing better than getting paid to play hockey. I was drafted by Tampa Bay in 2002, and I signed with their affiliate team in Springfield, Mass, following my senior season. This began a new set of ups and downs. I attended NHL training camps, including Tampa and Detroit, playing alongside some of the greatest players in the history of hockey. I had the opportunity to be around some of the best coaches in the game, including Mike Babcock, John Tortorella, and Kurt Frazier. The biggest thing that I learned is that the only thing that never changes is that things always change. Through my playing career, I never had a clear grasp on where I stood or how I was playing. I have created this company to make sure no other player has that same feeling ever again. Atherton Hockey is the company that I wished existed when I played, a company that is always on the side of players. We will inspire bold dreams and provide clear paths to achievement. Relying on my experience and relentless research, I aim to ensure that players have the chance to play this game longer and enjoy it more than I did. So, like, that's just really cool, man. That's just really cool. And to start, because we had somebody from Minnesota, Andrew Alberts, on the podcast probably a couple months ago, who I'm sure you played against growing up.
I did play against Andrew.
And so, he talked about he got cut from his Bantam team. And
I remember that.
So
I remember when he was in Waterloo, and like people were like, there's this big gangly guy in Waterloo, and like he's not very good, but like he's getting all this opportunity because he was big. And man, did he develop into a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah, I played over 500 games in the NHL, getting cut at 15 years old from his Bantam team, and you talk about, and I love when people talk about their struggles, because we all have our struggles, and you talk about getting cut in youth hockey and stuff. And then you go on to play at the University of Minnesota, which is every kid from Minnesota's dream for the most part. And, get drafted in the NHL, USHL All-Star, all these great accolades. But like, talk a little bit about like getting cut when you were younger, because we all get cut at some point. Most of us get cut when we're younger. I did, Vex did, like we all did, and ended up having these pretty good careers. But like, what did that do for you? And like, what was that kind of like when that happened?
Man, it was really painful, to be honest with you. Like, I got, I didn't make the Pee Wee A team. That was my first like big experience with like this, like, and I know that sounds silly, but like at the time, this is my whole life. This is how I identify myself, as playing hockey and being a hockey player. I'm a competitive dude, as we all are. And like, it just really hurt. And like, I didn't understand really why that had happened. However, it turned out to be this amazing experience. The team that we had, I ended up being the captain of that team. I think we only lost like 6 games that we played that year. I would argue that we probably could have beaten that PWA team. We went deep into the playoffs, into the state tournament here in Minnesota, which is obviously a big deal and a cool thing. And like, I got to experience kind of these other avenues and kind of this disappointment, but I became relentless in pursuing getting better and wanting to get better. Same thing happened when I was a first-year Bantam. Like, I didn't make the Bantam B team, which is what I was hoping to do, and got cut again and again, was able to be, which I think is important, and we could talk about too. I got to be one of the better players on my team. I wasn't just hanging on. I got a chance to handle pucks. I got a chance to make plays because I was one of the better players in kind of a lower spot. I do think that helped me learn some of these things that I would need eventually to play at a higher level, right? And so I was in a good position to develop and learn, and I kept going with it. I eventually, made the Bantam A team the next year, and then made the varsity team as one of 2 sophomores that played varsity hockey for Edina. Went to the state tournament my sophomore year and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of just kept working to get better, and then, all of those challenges and struggles and learnings repeated again in pro hockey, which we can go into later too.
Was there anybody after you got cut that helped you get through that time, mindset wise, or things to focus on, or did you reach out to anybody, or how did that go?
So Kurt Giles, who's kind of a Minnesota legend, who's been the coach of Edina hockey since my senior year. He continues to be the hockey coach there now. He's an amazing dude. Like, Kurt he's an All-American at Duluth. He's like 5'6" and played in the National Hockey League in the 90s.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And like, he's like this super tough farm guy from Saskatchewan. Like, he's got like 9 fingers, and like, he's like this amazing personality, right? And I was close with him. He had a son who played hockey with me on the PWB team. And like, he told me and told my mom, like, PJ doesn't realize like how good he could be at hockey, and really kind of put that in my mind of like, hey, maybe this is something I could be good at.
Very cool. Surround yourself with good people, folks. That's half a life. Half of being, no, it's 90% of being successful in life. So you end up getting cut, and you end up kind of figuring out. I want to talk a little bit about something that you said there, and that's just like, and again, this kind of goes back to like why the Minnesota model is better than everywhere else. Like, you talked about, like, you got the opportunity to like be the guy. Got the opportunity to be a captain. And in Minnesota, like, if you look at the stats of players that come out of Minnesota that go on to play in the NHL, most of them play high school hockey, and a lot of them play at least 3 years. A lot of them even 4 years of high school hockey. They're not in a rush to jump to juniors or to go to an academy or any of this stuff. Like, they're the guy in their town, and they learn all those intangible things that comes with being the guy. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Because you work with a lot of kids, you work with a lot of pros, and I feel like, like, understanding how to be one of the top players and how to being a leader is so important for the development of the players. And if we try to rush it, you're going to get less of that. The more you marinate and the more you kind of understand that it's a marathon and not a sprint, you learn those intangible things. So can you talk a little bit to that?
I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I'm a really big believer, and kind of my philosophy is really that our environment dictates our behavior, and our environment has a lot to do with the player that we are and the player that we become. So if we could be in an environment where maybe we are a little bit better than the average or a little bit better than most, we have an opportunity to make some plays that maybe we would shy away from, and we can learn to develop those skills, and we can try out those skills now versus a time where the stakes may be a little bit higher, right? So we have an opportunity to make plays, to hold on to the puck for an extra second, and learn what it feels like to be counted on to score and all those different things. So I don't think there needs to be a hurry that sometimes players get in. And I mean, honestly, it is happening a little bit more here in Minnesota, where you see kids leaving a little bit more than they ever did. I mean, that was unthinkable when I was a kid. It just like, it just wasn't done. Like the USHL was, I mean, you guys remember the USHL. I mean, it was old league. I mean, it was guys were 20 and 21. Like it was old and you weren't ready to go there. And so kids just didn't leave. You had to be a really good Minnesota high school hockey player before you got the chance to do that. And so I think that environment and learning to dominate levels and be counted upon and to lead is really important. And we shouldn't pass by that because maybe we could hang on as a third line guy in the USHL or fourth line guy and maybe be scratched sometimes as opposed to playing at a level where maybe you're going to get a chance to really develop your skill.
I can attest to that in the reverse. I went to the USHL when I wasn't ready. And
Me too.
I went from, especially Toph. Toph was there when he was 3. Youngest player ever to play in the USHL at that time. Not a big deal. Well done, Toph. But I just turned 17 like the day the season started, and I was like the year before I either led Select 17 in scoring or I was like top 2 or 3 at the camp. I made USA that went overseas. I'm flying high. I come in, I'm a skill guy, and I am not skilled enough to play in that league. And I'm a huge puss and I'm not strong. and like I look back, and especially after doing this podcast and having all this experience training hockey players and helping hockey players, with their mental side, it's the same thing. Like I wish that, I would have stayed one more year playing midgets and gotten to work out for like a real full year and like been the guy who's on the power play and on the penalty kill and would have more rope and things like that. And I just always think like, man, like what would my career have been like? Like where would I have went if I had gone in when I was actually ready? And there, positives and negatives, all these things, but it's really interesting. And I think that if I could give anybody advice, it would be to err on the side of caution. Go in too ready for most players, versus going in too early for most players.
Agreed. And there's so many things about being ready. I mean, it's physically physically, I was absolutely not ready to play in the USHL anytime earlier, but like emotionally, I definitely wasn't ready to do that. I wasn't ready to deal with an adult who's dealing with their job and putting food on their table, being pissed at me. I certainly was not ready for that and getting screamed at. Like that wasn't something I was prepared for, or particularly ever in my career got very good at dealing with. But like all of those things are all factors and it all leaks out onto the ice. All of that stuff shows up in your performance of being like, I've been talking to guys recently about like, I feel like a lot of players are playing 2 games at one time. They're playing the game of what's going on with their emotions and what's the coach thinking and what's the GM going to think and what's going to happen to my career. And then they're actually trying to play a hockey game, which is hard enough. It's hard enough for us to play a hockey game. It's super fast. There's big dudes out there trying to hit us and punch us in the face. And now all of a sudden I'm playing another game at the same time in a parallel moment. And like, it's just too much for us to deal with. We need to be prepared to be in the moment. If you talk to like any super elite player, like what they're thinking about while they're playing, it's not a lot. Like they are in the moment.
They're not looking at coach like, what's he thinking? What's he thinking? Does he hate me more now? Does he hate me more? Does he want to kill me? Does he want to trade me? Does he want to stab me? Yeah. Oh my God, this guy hates
sounds like
me.
This is coming from experience, Jeffrey.
Dude, absolutely. And then I looked up, we played 1 year against each other in USHL. Then you got Art Feminella out there who's 17 feet tall trying to kill everybody. So that's happening.
Art Feminella.
Did you fight Art Feminella?
Oh, I fought Art Feminella for some reason.
Wow.
Why? We played in Sioux City, which was basically the size of my bedroom, and like over the red line's a legit scoring chance. So somehow it gets to be known that like I'm gonna fight Art. I'm like, where? Like what? How did this happen? Like,
were you tough?
I'm okay. I'm from Edina. I'm not that tough. Like I'm the guy that's like, I thought I wanted to be tough till I met somebody who was actually tough. And you're like, oh, there's levels to this game. So somehow it was like, they're going to fight. And so I ended up fighting this guy. We're losing 2-0. And like 4 seconds into the fight, he rips his gigantic arm away from me and just starts like hammering the top of my head. And it was a disaster. It was brutal. And then I get to sit in the hallway of Sioux City because they didn't have penalty boxes. I was in the hallway.
Yep.
And their fans are like throwing beers at me and be like, you like, it's like brutal. Like,
Zex, did you ever play in that?
Ready for something?
Yeah.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah. Did you play in that Sioux City barn?
Yeah. My first year they were still there. So I played against Art in that. You couldn't get around him because he could like arms touched both boards.
Yeah.
It was literally like a studio rink. But the best part about it was, the penalty boxes, it wasn't a penalty box. You're literally like, you have fans that like are going into the stands, like going right next to you.
It was crazy.
And then the locker rooms, it was like a former like big stage thing, right? So like the locker rooms were actually like upstairs in like a former dressing room for like a stage.
Yep.
And the Exarban was like that, Vex, before you got there.
Yes.
In Omaha, same thing. And
walk down onto the stage, both places, onto the stage, and then right out there.
Yep, I love it.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
So talking about like being ready and like the Minnesota model and stuff like that, I want to give some stats here. And this is like, these are just things. And again, this is what we believe in, but I think numbers are also a great way to tell stories because numbers don't lie. Well, I guess some numbers lie, but that data typically doesn't lie. Your interpretation of them might be different. But so what a lot of people like to do is they like to put Minnesota and Mass next to each other. And kind of compare the two based on a lot of different things, numbers and whatnot. And so back in 1992, Minnesota and Mass were pretty similar in the sense of like their model. It was very community based. You played for your town, then you played for prep school, but it was still very kind of like community based. Now it's completely changed out there. Minnesota has not changed that much. It's still very community based. You play for your high school, all that stuff. The rinks are still, for the most part, publicly owned, as opposed to Massachusetts, where a lot of the rinks now are privately owned. And this is the fallout, let's say, of what has happened in the past 30 or so years in the two states. So when you look at NCAA Division I, this is just the men's side, just men's players. In 1992, so these stats are from 92 and then 2022, so it spans 30 years. In 1992-93, there were 204 NCAA Division I men's players in Minnesota, and there were 185 in Massachusetts. So pretty even for the most part. In 2022-23, there were 219 Division I men's players in Minnesota and only 130 out of Massachusetts. That's a big difference from 30 years and how the model has changed. And then if you want to go to NHL players, you look at 2002 and 2003, 24 players from Minnesota in the NHL and 40 in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts had 16 more players than Minnesota did in 2002, 2003. In 2022, 2023, there were 67 players from Minnesota in the NHL and only 32 from Massachusetts.
Crazy.
That's another big difference.
Wow.
And so when we talk about guys like the community model, this is what we mean. Like, not only is it better for, I think, developing the life skills and mental skills and emotional skills from playing for your town and playing for something bigger than yourself, and it being about the logo more than being about, you know, your journey and the name on the back of the jersey. But like, if you want to be an elite hockey player, take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time. Minnesota community model is the best by far. And you look at these two things, Minnesota and Massachusetts, and how radically different it was 30 years later from the college side and 20 years later from the NHL side. Like, it's crazy. And I caution people. I really, really caution people, because everybody's talking about World Juniors right now, right? Everybody's talking about World Juniors, how Canada plays 5th for the second year in a row, and we've won for the second year in a row and stuff like that. What people don't understand is that in the States, we're kind of like 5 to 10 years behind Canada when it comes to all this professionalization type stuff. You talk about the rise of the academies, like that happened in Canada before it happened in the US. And that's really coming. You talk about the business side of hockey, right? Like it started before in Canada, and now that's where we're getting in the US. So I'm really proud of the fact that we've won 2 in a row. And I think there's a lot of things that we do in the States that are great when it comes to developing talent. You think about the ADM, you know, you think about how practices look now from the ADM principles back to, you know, when we played, when we were growing up. But at the same time, we got to be cautioned that the more we become a business as a sport, the less you're going to see more elite players at, you know, different spots. We got lucky in the fact that the NHL expanded to the South. And so what happened? Our player pool for youth hockey went through the roof. We had more players, and we talk about it all the time, as many as possible for as long as possible. And that's not happening in Canada right now. It's too expensive. It's too costly. So people are choosing other sports, and that's what's happening in the US, not as much now. But if we continue down this road, like this whole World Junior and success and everything, like, we're going to be Canada. Like that's what's going to happen. And then countries like Sweden and Finland who do it right. And I know, PJ, you have some thoughts and some numbers on that stuff. Like, they're going to continue to keep getting better, and we're going to stagnate, or we're going to get worse the more that stuff happens. So there's some data to this too. And so, PJ, just hearing that stuff, growing up in Minnesota, you know, Massachusetts, it's kind of a mess right now, to put it lightly. There's so many different things that you can do out there, and it's become so privatized in business. And you just look at these numbers, like, it's insane. So what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, I think it comes down to exactly what you said. Like, the more players that we can keep involved for longer, the more better players we're going to have. Because you guys, like, look at the NHL draft. Those guys are throwing darts at a dartboard. Like, outside of like 5 guys, they don't know who's going to be good. They don't know who's going to play in the NHL. Even the first round guys, like, how many busts are there all the time? Like, you and I we could all probably name 5 dudes. It's like, that guy's a first round draft pick, didn't play a game. Like, so nobody knows. So now we're going to push that down to like, who's going to be the good player at 10? Like, you don't know who the best player is going to be. So if our incentives are, we have to win, we have to be the best program so that people come here and pay us, well, then we're going to find the best 10-year-olds. And so if we find the best 10-year-olds, those might not be the best 16-year-olds. And you see this in like European soccer all the time. The players that make it through the academy to the first team did not start there at 9. They came in at 16. So you get all these kids that get booted out for these kids because they thought they were going to be good. And you know, kids quit, right? And so they get kicked out, and they bring in the kids that actually ended up being the best players. And I just look at myself like, well, if I had been like not allowed to be on a team, like, would I even wanted to play? Or I'm just like, screw this. I'm going to take my skates and I'm going to go home. Like, we need to keep kids involved because you don't know who's going better. And you talked about that Sweden, that the idea in Sweden, and essentially like the numbers for there, they did this big study on ending up in the National Hockey League, like per number of players that you have. And Minnesota and Sweden are about the same number of hockey players, right? But they did this study that was saying if you come from Sweden, you're 3 times more likely to become an NHL player than anywhere in the United States, right? So what they're doing that's different, and also you're 3 times more likely to become a first-round draft pick if you're from Sweden than you are if you were from Canada. So
I knew I did something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You're born in the wrong place. but it's not because like Canadians don't have more first round draft picks, because they have so many more players playing hockey that they kind of, not to say that they discard them, but like they get rid of them. Sweden can't do that, right? So Sweden doesn't have tryouts until you're a Bantam. Everyone gets to play. Everyone plays. There's no tryouts. They're grouped by ability, right? So they try to, put things together so kids enjoy it. Really good kids don't enjoy playing with kids that are just beginning, right? That makes a lot of sense. But they don't say this is the best team, this is the worst team. They group them together by ability so everybody can have an enjoyable experience, right? They also use black puck, they don't use black pucks until peewees. They use those little blue pucks all the way through squirt so that they can have more time making skill. They play in small areas. All this stuff that we know creates more shots, more passes, more hockey plays, more thinking, because they know that if they lose one kid that maybe would have been good, they're screwed. They can't do that. They don't have 10 more kids waiting. They just don't have enough people. So keeping the kids involved, more kids involved for longer, I think is the absolute way to do it. And that needs to be the incentives, not winning might chant. Like, who cares? Like, I don't remember any of my might games. I don't remember my squirt games. Honestly, I don't remember any of my Bantam games. I remember like 4 high school games. Like, I don't remember any of that stuff, but I remember developing and loving hockey and staying involved. And, I remember, winning a national championship at the University of Minnesota. I remember getting drafted and like playing my first pro hockey game, but I don't remember what I did when I was 9. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter.
So I don't know if you talk about this a lot with people, but like, do you have people push back when you talk about Sweden and when you talk about small area games, you talk about using the blue puck and you talk about that, and they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense. I want my 5-year-old playing full ice. What do you say to that? Because Toph and I, big proponents of, cross ice games for the young players and all this stuff that we're talking about, all the stuff Sweden does. Like, we love that. And, all the time people are like, oh yeah, but I want to play full ice. So is there anything that you are saying to people when they say that?
I'm trying to express patience, and that if you like, people don't like that, especially people in America, right? We want to win. Like, America's culture is like winning, and winning and success. And I think we need to look at success differently, because, by the way, I'm not talking about like, let's hold hands and not care. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I want to make more players. I want to make more Minnesota players who play in the National Hockey League, honestly, so they can make more money and they can give some of it to me for helping them get there. Right? Those are my incentives. Like, I don't want to play, like, have everyone play house league and like sing songs together and give trophies to everybody. But if we actually want to get there, you need to develop the environment that will actually get them there. And it's not crazy competitive full ice games. There's this big study out of Sweden and Finland too that talked about the distance that kids play. And the only thing that you get better at skating over a full ice sheet when you're even all the way up to 14 is your top end speed. You get more passes, more hockey decisions, more shot attempts, more direction change, all of that with a smaller sheet of ice. Like, it's just science. I'm not doing this because I think everyone deserves a trophy. I believe this stuff because I think it will actually make us better. And I think we're all competitive dudes, and that's what we want.
It's so funny we're talking about this right now. Before this call, I was talking to somebody here in Chicago on the phone, and it's hockey here in Chicago is a whole different animal. Oh, yeah. But the guy said, like, I was kind of challenging him on some stuff because I'm like, and he's like, well, we've been doing it this way for 30 years. Why would we change? I'm like, that's exactly why you change. Yeah. Don't you want to get better? Like, don't you want new ideas? Don't you want to bring in new kind of things that can actually make the process of what you're trying to do better?
Totally.
No, as long as no. And I'm like, I fundamentally don't understand. Well, I do understand. People don't like change. That's fine. Yeah. They've been doing the same thing and it's comfortable for them. But like, when it comes to development, what is development about? It's about improvement. And you talk about the environment. How can we improve the environment to make sure that the development is getting maximized? And so, and again, when you can throw numbers out there and statistics and studies and like, and really explain the why to people, that's great. But then the people have to also accept that too.
Totally.
Like, yeah. I think the whole cross ice, full ice thing, I think a big part of the reason why people don't want to do it is because it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like a hockey game.
I think that's absolutely,
you know what
right.
I mean? Like, it just like, I feel like my kid's not really playing hockey right now.
It's not a real hockey game. It doesn't look pretty. It's not that, the kids are making mistakes all the time. It's like, no, that's what you need. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that we need. But there's, talking about like people not wanting to change, like whatever bias it is, expertise bias or some name for this bias, that actually the longer you do something, at some point you actually start to get worse at it. And they've done this with like surgeons and all sorts of things where you've learned the old information and you've just done it that way for so long that you actually become worse at it as time goes on, as opposed to relearning new ways. And like people that are new have the most up-to-date information, right? Like these guys that want to play full ice hockey, they aren't giving their kids wooden sticks and double runner skates, all leather to play in, right? Like, just
That's
like
such a good point.
We've gotten better, right? Like there's one pieces now, we use them. Like, let's not say that we're just going to play the same game that we played before. There's better ways to do things.
Goalies aren't doing the straight leg kick with the stick into the corner
The
anymore.
Kirk McLean.
Say
The Kirk McLean. I love it.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Well, PJ, I want to kind of pivot here a little bit because you get the opportunity to work with a lot of elite level athletes. And with video and what you do is so much more obviously than just that. And so, going to your website, it's really interesting because you talk about your why, but you also put your how on there too. And there's kind of 4 different principles. I don't know if you would call them principles, but 4 different things that you focus on with the players. And you start with establishing identity, and then you go to creating your vision. You talk about building your game model, and then you talk about measuring your process. Process progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're always looking for better ways, as we talk about here, to kind of coach and help develop these players. Talk a little bit about this model that you've created and working with some of your players, maybe some of the success stories that you've had, and just the background of how this came about.
I think one of the things that I really lacked and struggled with was like clarity for myself. Like, unless I scored 3 goals or I was brutal, I didn't know how I was playing. I didn't know where my progress was. I had a really hard time self-evaluating. So I became so dependent upon the emotions of, the coach behind me or somebody else, that I was just constantly looking over my shoulder for everyone to validate how I was playing. Right. So like I've become super passionate about how do we give players control over their performance and their development? How do we put them in the driver's seat and center them in the midst of this, from the amateur players we work with to the NHL players that we work with? How do we let them understand, number one, who are they and how do they fit into this game? How do I create success? I don't even think I knew that. I didn't have a plan for how I was going to play. I was like, go out there and, man, hope I play good tonight. And then sometimes it would show up and be like, geez, this was great. And then sometimes it wouldn't. I was like, oh man, this is brutal. So trying to help them understand how they can create success, and then helping them build a repeatable process of, if I want to do X, that means I need to be doing A, B, and C every night. If I do A, B, and C, I'm going to have success. I'm going to have at least some baseline level of success. And what I add into that, maybe I play a great game, but I'm never going to play this like brutal game where I don't know what I'm doing. And throughout, that can change throughout the season. But I think Clarity produces confidence, right? That confidence gets us to be in the flow and in control of what's going on. And we know what we're doing. We can let go of things. We kind of empty ourselves out and play the game. And then we just track to see how you're doing, what's going well, what isn't going well. You said you wanted to do this certain thing. You said you wanted to score 30 goals this year. Okay, well, that meant you needed to do these things in order to do it. You need to, touch the puck a fair amount in the offensive zone, receive passes in good areas, have high danger shot chances. How are you doing with that? You're either doing it or you're not, or more than likely, sometimes you're doing it and sometimes you're not. And then figuring out what are the things we need to do to create more of those opportunities for you.
Very cool. Very cool. One of the things that you talked about that really kind of resonated with me, and in fact, I'm sure it did to you too, but you talked about the way that we feel like we played is validated by somebody else. And we're really big on self-evaluation and how important self-reflection, self-evaluation is to the process of getting better, and really being able to evaluate yourself so you don't have to get your validation from somebody else. Obviously, you're always going to get that from your coach. Your coach is going to give you feedback on how you're doing, but being able to accurately see where you're at is really, really, really important. So how do you go about kind of some sort of a self-reflection or goal setting process with the players that you work with?
Yeah. So we would do we would set what we would call a vision, like a vision for the season. Right. And that starts with, who do I want to be when I show up to the rink, and who do I want my teammates to see me as? Who do I want to see myself as? How would I describe my identity off the ice? What type of person do I want to be? Right. I want, and the common answers are obviously, I want to be confident. I want to be a good teammate. I want to be competitive and gritty and those things. And that's great and good. And then we try to dive a little bit deeper. What do those things actually mean? Because those are really cool buzzwords. And I know you've heard your coach say that you need to be those things, but what does that mean? What are the behaviors that you need to do on a daily basis to make sure that you are being a good teammate? Because I can say I want to be a good teammate. What does that mean? I don't know. Well, okay, it means I need to make sure that I'm connecting with people when I get to the rink. I need to come say hi to my coach. I need to say hi to the trainer. I need to say hi. One of the interesting things, my last year of playing pro hockey, I made a really big decision to be nice to everyone I came in contact with. And I know that sounds like a weird thing, and why wouldn't you be nice to people? But I was really wrapped up in this thing that I was trying to do, and it wasn't going very well, and I was upset. And it turns out I wasn't very nice to a lot of people. And so I made this really intentional decision to be really nice to fans, to really nice to everybody, my teammates, and just be joyful to be around. And I had one of the most fun years of hockey I ever had. I enjoyed it a lot more because I made a decision to change my behavior. So we try to identify those behaviors that are going to lead to the things that we want to do. And then we try to figure out what our purpose is. Like you were saying, what's motivating me? What is this big reason why? Why do you want to score 30 goals? What does that do for you? Why? Who cares? Why get good at hockey? Why pursue this? Well, I want to learn how to get really good at something. I love this thing. I want to do this thing for a long time. And you get into some NHL guys and you get some other choices, right? I want to have a little more control over my career. I want my next contract I want to be in the driver's seat of my next contract. And then we talk about how you're going to get that. So, okay, so what's your target? What are we aiming at? If you want to get those things and that's what kind of your purpose is, what do we need to do? And then we'll build out a model together of what it looks like to play your best game to hopefully accomplish most of those things. And then we track that progress, and then we just keep doing it over and over and over again.
That's so awesome. Coaches listening, you can't underestimate the value in talking to your player and asking them why. And whatever their answer is, ask them why again. And then why again. And then why. Yeah. And just keep asking why until you break it down to the most granular, where is that baseline? And then how? How are we going to do it? Now we make the plan. It is life changing. This goes anybody. You want to make more money at work. Why? Because I want to give a better life to my wife and my daughter and my kids. Okay, now that's freaking powerful. That's motivating. The car that you want, that really isn't going to motivate you that much for most people. But I want to give my little baby daughter the best life possible and, take care of her. And all. Okay, now that is powerful. Now, how do we go about that? what are the steps we're going to take and how are we going to act with each of those steps. Breaking things down like this with your player will literally change their life, and you will notice intentionality go to the moon. And when you do things intentionally, you immediately gain confidence and become more successful in all of these things. It's so awesome, man. That's so cool.
I mean, it's such a good point. And to any coach that like wants to do this, what I will say is these conversations are difficult. So like be prepared that you're going to get the answer that's like, I want to be confident.
Yeah.
Okay. What's that mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, and you have to keep going and be comfortable, and you have to be comfortable sitting there in silence when you're like, okay, what are you, okay. So you want to be confident. What are the 3 behaviors that you can do each day to make sure that you feel confident? And they're going to go, oh geez, I don't know. And you go, okay, cool. So like, if you did know, like, what would they be? You know, like, what would be one? Like just, and you have to sit there and be quiet. You can't, I have to, obviously I talk a lot. I have to resist the urge, like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I'm going to fill this in for you. Let them say it, because Vex, like you said, like the idea of providing a life for your family is much more motivating than I want my bank account to go up.
Right.
Like,
right. You gotta find that real why. And when players start to find that, everything changes because they start to bring in real intention. And when you bring in real intention, you care about details, you care about habits, you care about every little thing, because you're always coming back to that most powerful why that is your trigger to make you, show up the way that you want to show up to reach the goals that you're saying you want to reach. Or because now if I'm not doing that, because you've done the reflection piece, I'm never going to get that goal. So this stuff is like, it's so massively important. It is insane. This changes your life, man.
Yes.
And in the difficult waters that, are the higher levels of hockey, but even at the lower levels and the younger levels, I've been on this big kick of talking about like surviving versus thriving. Like most people are surviving. And why are they surviving? It's 2 things. 1, they don't know what their why is, and 2, they don't have a plan. They're just showing up, and whatever happens. And there's no, like you said, Vex, there's no intentionality to it. Like the people who thrive, they know what their why is, like concrete. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then there's a plan to accomplish it. That gets down to the nitty gritty of what you guys are taught. What are my daily behaviors? What are my daily goals? What are the daily things that I need to do? And I even know in my life, there's times where I'm surviving and there's times where I'm thriving, whether it's with my family, whether it's with my business, whatever it may be. And I know that like when I'm struggling, my why is not, it's not at the forefront. And when I'm struggling, I'm not as prepared, I'm not as organized as I need to be. When I am, it's like freaking lockstep and here we go. And that's why it's amazing to have coaches that give a shit, man. And do these things with you at the beginning of the year, and then revisit it again, and then revisit it again, and then by the end of the year, tracking that progress, like you said, like you can actually see that where you were from the beginning to the end, you're a completely different person or completely different player. And so, yeah, man, the why and the how, like you said, but I do love what you said, like, and you're right, PJ, like those are uncomfortable conversations.
Yep.
You have to be comfortable as a coach or as a developer in understanding that most people don't get asked those questions and they don't know. Like they really got to reflect and they really got to understand themselves a little bit better and really think hard about that stuff. And Vex, you hit the nail on the head too. When they do get to that point, the intentionality, like I'm sure you can see it in the gym. Like, the reps are at 100. They're not at 90. They're at 100, man.
Yep.
It's so easy to see the difference too. Like, especially over time, people who live with intention and people who don't. And when you don't live with intention, you're leaving things to chance. You're leaving gains on the table. Like it is, you could have 2 of the exact same players that have the exact same, they're both, an 87 on NHL 25, whatever. They're both, good kids, all this stuff. One lives with intention and one doesn't. And it's unbelievable the difference that their trajectories, where they will take them to, literally by one kid who just kind of shows up and like he works hard, but the other one who shows up and is like, this is why I'm here. These are my goals. This is what I want to, I want to hit these numbers. Like, we talk about on the podcast all the time. Before every single session that I do in the summer with all of my guys, pro, college, junior, midgets, we lay down on the mat before we start and I make them close their eyes. I put on some relaxing music, and they have to go over. I'm saying, what is your why? Why are you here today? Talk to yourself right now. These are my goals for this summer. These are my goals for this coming season. These are the numbers I want to hit. You have to be very, very specific, because once you're specific, you can start to create plans on how to achieve said goals. No, you can't decide how you're going to drive somewhere if you don't know what the destination is. You need to pick the destination first, and then you decide the route.
Yeah,
progressions and regressions. Right.
I would encourage coaches to think about this for themselves too. Like, what is your why? Why are you involved in youth sports? Why are you doing this? And like, investigate what that is and ask yourself that question too, because if we are, I doubt there's many people out there like, well, I'm coaching youth hockey because I want to someday coach in the NHL. Maybe there are some people like that, and that's okay. But I would argue that thinking about how you make players better as being the avenue of how you get there would probably be the better path. If you're the guy that's known of getting the most out of your team because you make players better and you improve them and you put them first, you're probably going to go a lot farther. And if we think about a lot of the guys in the National Hockey League that are really successful coaches, like, that's what they are doing. That's why those guys, the John Coopers, have jobs for a long time, is they're trying to make their players better, and a rising tide lifts all ships, versus guys that are trying to save their jobs. And that goes all the way down to Bantam, some of these AAA teams and all that stuff. If we're trying just to win hockey games so that we can make money, you're going to treat people differently. You're going to treat players differently. You're going to tell kids to chip pucks off the glass every time, because you guys might not lose and the other team might fall down and you might score a goal because we're U15s, and that's the way that happens. But when that U15 goes and plays in the USHL and the only thing he knows how to do is punt the puck off the glass, he's not going to be very good. He's not going to be, a desirable, valuable asset to a team that wants to move the puck and hang on to it.
We got to, at listeners, rewind this 30, 45 seconds, whatever that just was. And that's the essence of what we need to be doing so much better, especially at the AAA level and the higher levels of hockey. We have to develop our players. And if your goal is to win only, you're not setting your kids up for success, which is what our job is, and to the parents out there, if you have a coach, or you as a parent group are putting pressure on the coach to be, at the top of my hockey rankings, he's going to coach your kid different. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to coach your kid to develop. He's going to coach your kid to win. And your kid's not going to get better. Your kid's not going to get better. Because he's not going to be making the plays and holding onto the puck. And maybe he's going to make a couple of mistakes that are going to end up in the back of your net. And maybe your teams, honestly, at the end of the day in youth hockey, records go by talent. It's the same in the NHL.
You make your kids better, you're going to win more. It's a 2-for-1. You're not making your kids better.
It's a win-win situation, and you might lose a couple games than you were supposed to
in the beginning, maybe
in October.
You might in the beginning, right?
Yeah. But then when it matters, your kids are going to be better, and you're going to win more, and then also your kids are going to develop more, and they're going to be ready because those skills that you learn are going to translate to the next level. Punting it off the glass, that doesn't translate to the next level. The old 1-4 forecheck. Making a play as a defenseman through the middle, a little slip to the center.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
And if the kid's looking to do it and he's trying to do it and the guy was open, but he missed it, good job, buddy. Way to go. Shit, that's the play we want to make. Yeah, you missed it. And more than likely, that stuff doesn't end up in the back of your net. One of the things I get to work with some of the best defensemen in the world. And one of the things that they do really well on the blue line offensively is they apply pressure to their defenders, right? The forwards that are trying to defend them, they are taking the puck and they are attacking. And I promise you, those guys trying to defend them are not thinking about how they're going to go on a breakaway. They're going, oh man, I don't want to get danced and end up on NHL tonight. Because this jerk is trying to beat me this way and that way. But when you're standing at the point stationary and you thunk one off their shin pads and it goes the other direction, guess where they want to go? They want to go that way. So even if you lose the puck, if you're being aggressive and you're attacking, that guy's not ready to go the other way. He's trying to grab his stick from off the ice. He's like, Jesus, this guy's killing me over here. But if you're standing still and you bang, go that way, that's when you turn the puck over. And so it's like, it's these things actually lead to more success, and actually the safer that we try to be and the more like, don't do anything wrong, the worse we become. It's really interesting to see.
It's a great
Totally.
point. It's a great point.
I love it. Well, PJ, thanks, man, for coming on here
Thanks,
today.
guys.
This was really, really good. This is going to be one of those that I think are going to resonate a lot with a lot of people. And so we appreciate your time, and we appreciate your insight big time, man. And
I appreciate you guys.
yeah, another kid that didn't have it figured out at 15, that ended up winning a national championship. You're welcome for that, by the way, beating us at Cornell.
Toph cries about that weekly.
That was the Thomas Vanek show. So you can.
No, that was after. Oh, was that the year you're talking about?
We won the national championship when Tommy. We beat Cornell. I think
that would have been the year after, or 2 years after.
Year after them. Yeah. We beat UNH too in the final with Vanek doing all those Vanek things. Talk about a guy that was only interested in doing the things that he saw on the ice. That guy did not have any thought about anybody else in the whole world except what he saw in the rink, and he was going to go do it, and it was incredible.
I remember playing against him in the USHL. And
you see him warm up?
No. Why?
Stand on the bench. You just stand there like this. He was 16. Kid was 16 years old. He's just going, what is happening right now?
I remember I was playing center. I was like a 16-year-old at the time, and I was playing against him down low. And I remember trying to defend him, like, getting my stick up, like right above, and he wouldn't move. He just didn't move. He was so like naturally just strong. His legs must have been like tree trunks.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Absolute monster.
Yeah.
What a guy. I've heard he's an absolute gem of a human being.
He's a beauty of a human being. He was my roommate freshman year, and he was an absolute beauty to be around. And like, again, like he didn't worry about the outside perceptions. He just had an inner confidence. He didn't care that he was a freshman. He didn't care that he wasn't supposed to score 31 goals as a freshman. Like, it didn't matter to him. He was just going out there and playing. And he was in the moment all the time. And it was so fun to watch. He did this play where he would dump it into himself off the end wall and try to score. And like, we had never seen that. Like, what are you doing? Like, he just came up with all this crazy stuff. He'd score on wraparounds. It was crazy.
Dude, he was insane. He was insane. Good. Well, thanks, man, for your time. We're going to keep you here for another couple minutes and do a 10 questions, and that's going to be housed in our Hockey Think Tank community. If you're not in it yet, get in it. Let's go. Got over 170 members in there right now.
Come on.
Some cool exclusive, if that's what you want to call it, content and things like that. Like these 10 questions. So go to community.thehockeythinktank.com and get in there. And PJ, thanks for your time, man. This was great.
Appreciate you guys.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.